infer from your testimony that you would support the ability of families to use housing choice vouchers in non-housing first facilities. I continue to implore my colleagues to allow vouchers. If we're going to be talking about Section 8 reform, I implore my colleagues to allow our low-income, poor, and homeless families around the country to use vouchers in non-housing first facilities. Last year, the U.S. Interagency Council on Homelessness released a report I commend to all of my colleagues that found that this one-size-fits-all approach to homelessness is not effective, and it has actually led to an increase in the number of unsheltered homeless since the U.S. adopted Housing First as its official policy. In the 5 years after 2014, when the U.S. adopted Housing First as its exclusive solution to combating homelessness, unsheltered homeless increased more than 20%. This is despite significant increases in federal funding to fight homelessness. And this sharp increase came after a welcome decline in homelessness of roughly 31% between 2007 and 2014. The study shows that more money without appropriate policy changes is not the answer. Many transitional housing facilities in my district and around the country do not qualify for federal funds because they require participation in wraparound services such as counseling, financial education, career development, as a condition of continued residency. These requirements are necessary and effective in many cases, such as for individuals recovering from addiction. The facilities have a demonstrated track record of successfully transitioning individuals out of homelessness and into permanent housing, yet they cannot access federal funds or receive housing choice vouchers. Mr. Husak, can you describe the importance that the U.S. embrace an all-of-the-above strategy for fighting homelessness and the potential drawbacks of an exclusive reliance on Housing First, which sidelines safe, effective, and successful homelessness assistance providers?
Thank you very much, Congressman Barr. I strongly agree with the thrust of your remarks and your inference. The fact that treatment facilities cannot receive these kinds of federal supports is antithetical to allowing people to graduate from their problems. And in terms of the count, and I'm going to relate this to your question, there are two types of homelessness, and we should not conflate them. There are what the British call rough sleepers, street sleepers. That is one group of people. They have their own problems. They need their own approaches. There is family homelessness, people who are having a hard time affording their own unit, maybe doubled up with their family. We need to focus on the rough sleepers. That's what people think of as the true homeless, the truly needy, and we need to give them treatment and target any federal funds toward treatment.
Well, we have a terrible addiction crisis in the country and in my home state of Kentucky that is the root cause of much of this homelessness. And I just implore my colleagues, look, if you're an advocate of Housing First, fine. But low-income families should be able to use housing choice vouchers in facilities that reject the failed Housing First model. And I would argue the morally bankrupt Housing First model and embrace successful models that require services that actually address the underlying cause of homelessness. It's not the lack of a roof over their head. There is a reason why they are homeless. Let's address the reason, the cause, and actually help these people get back on their feet. One other question to you, Mr. Husak. The majority laments the fact that not everyone who qualifies for a voucher receives one. Their solution is to create a new open-ended mandatory autopilot spending program costing taxpayers a minimum of $160 billion per year in perpetuity that would actually make rent less affordable through inflation pressure. But isn't there a better solution? One that costs absolutely nothing and would actually decrease permanent government dependency while making housing choice vouchers more available to more eligible families, and that is reasonable time limits. You mentioned, Mr. Husak, the Delaware model. How would the imposition of a time limit of housing choice vouchers for able-bodied, work-capable adults without dependents, even a generous time limit like 5 years, increase the availability of housing choice vouchers for families in the waiting line?
The most advanced model in this type is San Bernardino, California. Here's what they found. They report in their new annual report, for those who have been in the 5-year limit program, earned income increased 31%. full-time employment increased 20% and unemployment decreased 26%. Time limits are not mean.
Thank you. Thank you. I yield back.
The gentleman from California, Mr. Barr.